I mean, I would just go to the director.
You are
Okay.
the commissioner.
I guess.
Okay, Bannock County Commissioners are now in session.
Probably
This
get
is
a
our
mess.
work session.
Figure it out. Yeah.
We'll begin by going through the Board of Commissioners invoices, Commissioners reports. I had a couple little questions as I went through here. One was an iPad replacement in the sheriff's office, and that is the insurance part of the claim or the deductible.
Oh,
It comes out of our funds. And then I just talked with Alex, and these show gates and panels are for the new sheep barn that were purchased to go in there. So that was the two questions I had on the Commissioner's report. Anybody else?
I have none. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the Commissioner's report as presented.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then we have invoices. I had a question on one from emergency management. It's just amazing that you guys show up today when I have all these questions. Thank you. And what it is they're having a booth at the Neighborhood Works house tours. So that's what that one was. And then we have one here for plan reviews for the city of Pocatello.
Can we hold off on that one, Mr. Chair? I'm in communication with Mayor Blatt about some of that stuff.
Okay. I have no problem with that.
You okay with that?
Yeah, it's a credit card payment, so it's already gone through. So
Oh.
if there's,
Well, then in that case, I guess
It's
we
right
sign
there.
it and then we'll fix it on the other end.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Motion on the claims.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the claims as presented.
I have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next, we have payroll for 707 to 809.
that actually should be 7/27. There was a date error in the system, but it did pay the correct dates.
727.
Yeah.
Made a correction here, and I'll initial that.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the payroll report.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then next, we have salary rate approval forms. And there's one here for elections, and it has the 3%. Is this the 3% that we just agreed upon, or is this?
Yes.
Okay.
And because they're starting early, we didn't want to do another salary approval form on 10/1. So,
Okay.
and there's another temp employee that'll be coming in next week. Something wrong with South Dakota form, and I can't remember what it is now.
I didn't see it yet, so.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the salary rate forms as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, looks like Fair Board, first on the agenda. Nikki, you might as well come up too, and we'll go ahead and do 4-H. I mean, they're kind of combined here. Well, we had big events. First of the month. How did it go? What's your reports?
It went well.
I think it went well. I think our attendance was down a little bit a couple of days, but there was a lot of other events going on. Grace had their fair the same week. Thursday night's rodeo, they had a PRCA sanctioned rodeo, so our attendance was down on that a little bit. We did serve more potatoes than we did last year, we estimated, which I was surprised with the rain and all that, because you guys drove through the rain to get there.
Mhm.
The rodeo was good Friday night, wasn't it?
Rodeo was really good Friday night. Yeah, almost double. But Thursday was also, they had the powwow and they had the big parade kickoff thing. So I think that might have hurt us a little bit too.
So overall, you think the attendance was down a little, or about
I think just on a
average,
couple
or-
days. Wednesday was really busy, don't you guys think?
Wednesday was really good.
The parade,
Monday was
it
really
was-
good to start.
Yeah, and Friday was really good.
So
Okay.
Thursday was probably the weakest day.
Was it?
If you did that.
It was really
for
slow.
one effect. It was still pretty good, I thought.
Well, then afternoon thunder showers kind of had some effect on some people,
Mhm.
I'd heard. So,
Wednesday was good because of the parade, I think. The sea lions were a big hit. They were fun. They were really cute. I don't know if any of you guys got to watch them,
I never did see them.
but they were cute. I don't know if we'll do, after talking to Alex, I don't know if we'll do another motor event in between rodeos, because it was a lot of work to get the arena back ready for a rodeo the next night, or horse show in the morning. So I think we're gonna rethink that. I think it was better that we didn't do a big concert, because we didn't lose as much money. I mean, last year it cost us like $40,000 for the concert, and I think we made like 12. So I think it was smart to not do a big concert.
Good.
So, but that limited our ticket, I mean, that lowered our ticket sales a little bit, just because we didn't have that extra event, but we charged more for it. Do you have any stuff?
Fair was good. Covered it.
Yeah, I think everything went really well. I mean, for what the attendance was. So being there the whole week and for 15 hours a day, I think it went pretty good. It was a little bit on Saturday evening after the crash cars, but that was the close of the fair. So the sale went really well.
Yeah.
Did it? That's what I was gonna ask, how'd the sale go?
I think it did.
Yeah, it went really well. I kind of put together a report for you guys, but
We sold like 40 more projects than the year before.
Oh, really? How was the turnout for it?
it was good. So I looked at our prices. So in one of the pages in here, let's see, it's under community support. But so I kind of put the last few years. 2016 is when I started here, and we did about 60,000 at the sale. This year we did almost 300,000. So we have huge support from the community, local businesses, the community members. We did sell more animals, like Cody said, and so our program is growing, and like we're expanding a lot, which is amazing. We have a lot of support in our office, so we've been hiring AmeriCorps that help during the summer, and then we also have our part-time temporary help that you guys support, and it's been huge because we reach, I guess if you look at, if you look at this page, so there's about 86,000 in our population, and I estimate there's probably about 16,000 youth in our age group that we could reach. So the last few years, we've been reaching almost 8,000 youth. And previous years before we've had the extra support in our office, we reach about 3,000 to 4,000. So we're definitely expanding our reach. Our communication out to the community, I think, has been good. We've had newspaper articles, we do emails, we send out newsletters, we have our social media presence, so hopefully all of that's helping with that. But we're in almost all the schools in Bannock County also, so.
Can I ask you a question here?
Yeah.
So you say 16,000 youth in your category. What ages are you, is that by
So-
age or what?
Yeah, so our age group for 4-H, for a 4-H member is 8 to 18.
8
And
to
then-
18?
Yeah. And
And you figure there's 16,000
Mhm,
in that category?
yeah.
Okay.
That's what I estimate, based on the census data that I've looked at.
And then when you say 8,000 reached, what does that mean,
That's
reached?
the youth that, so we go out to schools, so we count all those youth as reaching youth.
So if you have to do a
Our
presentation in the school and it's got
2,000 kids, you're putting 2,000 down.
Well, yeah, so like if we did a program and we reached 2,000 youth, we would count that as the amount of youth we reach.
And that means
So-
just a presentation.
Yeah, so like most of our stuff is about an hour to an hour and a half long, and we go multiple times in the school. And so we reach about 30 youth at a time in a school classroom. So we're teaching like skills. We teach cooking and baking, life skills like financial education, robotics, so engineering. We do rockets and like animals, all the animal science topics that we teach. But so those youth that we've reached have at least seen us a few times. We don't double count them, but
Right, this is individuals
this is individual.
reached.
Yeah.
Okay,
So.
okay.
But, and then on this page, I don't know, I kind of got mixed up. This is our participation in our community club program. So that's the 4-H program, where our volunteers are the leaders of the club and organize the club. And as you can see, it's trending up every year with, for the most part, with all of our projects. So we continue to grow, and it's been awesome.
So this year we didn't have the antiques and all that kind of stuff. I don't know what you want to call them. What was the comments and conversations about that?
I didn't hear any negative comments about it. I think there was a couple of the older people that live in Downey that Piney knows that voiced their concern about, does this mean they're never coming back? So, and she assured them they were going to be back.
But they were saddened, but they kind of understood that
Yeah.
it was.
They were excited. I'm glad that we did the banner that we did.
Yes, I think the banner did help.
Yeah.
Make everybody understand what was going on.
Yeah.
Last week in our claims, we had one from 4-H for horse treats, halters, and fly spray.
Oh, we do awards for the horse kids, so that's probably what that was.
Okay.
We have different awards that we give to the kids from our budget line.
And just
Maybe on those invoices, just put used for,
awards,
Okay.
yeah.
and then we can add that when we pay that invoice.
Okay.
Because I was wondering, where are you keeping those halters all year and what's
No,
going on? And I
They're
mean,
handed out to the youth.
if it's county stuff, you can't do that.
Yeah, no, that's for the youth, for awards, yeah.
And then there was another conversation and question brought up, the 4-H using sawdust, but the fair paying for it.
Yeah. That and, yeah. We have there's a line item on Piney's budget for $1,000 for sawdust. But it's
Well,
at
we-
4-H, yeah.
yeah.
And I usually call Tractor Supply, if I buy one pallet, they'll donate one.
Yeah. And we did buy, the 4-H office did buy sawdust this year also from Cal Ranch at a discount price.
And I guess, is that 4-H or is that
Fair, right?
fair? That is my question.
I guess I don't know what category to put it under, because the purpose of having the sawdust is we give each kid a bale to start with in their pen, and then after that, they have to either bring their own or they need to purchase it, so.
It's nice for us to have some there to sell because we do sell it for $10 a bale if they need it later in the week. But the initial sawdust that they get is from 4-H, but we buy it.
And
There
so, go
might be a
ahead.
few items that maybe next year we visit on having 4-H pay for some of those things so that it's a clear picture of what 4-H costs are versus what fair costs are. And then.
How many do we have
what
left
we
this
can do
year?
that.
Because we keep it. I mean, we have it locked up in a,
There's probably 50.
so we probably got 50
bales
left.
Well, I just had a
We'll sell it throughout the
conversation
year.
with Whiffley, who is our auditing people, and they says, well, where's the possibilities of funds
Right.
being misplaced? And it's through stuff like that. I mean, somebody puts, not intentionally, but, oh, there's a bale of sawdust and somebody just puts the money in their pocket or something. It just, the process is what we need to make sure that we have a process down of how, because when our auditors come through and they say, well, what about this and what about
Yeah,
that?
where'd they go? Because we don't know which one, we can't count because we don't know how many 4-H uses every year. So we don't have a control over.
Yeah.
And then we use some, I think, for the show ring for the cell. But yeah, maybe
And that's
we
kind
do
of
a
the thing, I
spreadsheet
mean,
that tracks how many go.
we
where.
buy 100 bales of
That's a good idea.
sawdust and
Where they go.
where's the accountable, there isn't any accountability for it. And so that's one area that we just, when I talk to them, we need to
That's a good idea.
help tighten that up a little bit and stuff. One, we didn't introduce ourselves. So let's go ahead and introduce yourself so you're on the record.
I'm Nikki Ennis. I'm the extension educator for 4-H in Bannock County.
I'm Jamie Pearson, the Fair Board Coordinator.
Alex Hauser, grounds coordinator.
Cody Miller, Fair Board.
Zachary Dame, Fair Board.
So we just asked how you thought the fair went. You walked in. What was your feelings of this year?
I thought there was a good turnout. The conversations I had with several individuals who have come to the fair for several years said that there's a lot more participation with that. I think there should be more, some slight adjustments, which I've talked with some members about involving the younger kids. So I think we're going to make some adjustments there because there is a big population, I feel, that come with their family and they want to participate, and I think it's going to be a great entryway to getting into the 4-H program before they're eligible for the 4-H program. But as far as the overall production, I thought it went very well.
Good, good. And now that the fair's over, the responsibilities for that facility are upon the commissioners.
Right.
And so if there's activities that go on that are not fair activities, that needs to come through us.
Right.
And we need to work with Scott because we want to utilize that facility down there a whole lot more.
I actually talked to Scott yesterday. We've been contacted by POW to move down there. So I called him to Scott about it, and he told me what's the first steps, and then we'll get a commissioner, and then we'll involve the city of Downey, and he'd like to see him come back to the county, just not.
Okay.
So,
And
yeah, he said that it'd have to be a big sheriff's presence.
I've talked with procurement and engineering and building, and we're still don't have the drawings for the structure. So I've got some different avenues that we're exploring to
Okay.
see if we can get that done quicker and move.
I sent Darla her weekly text or email and haven't heard back. She usually emails Thursday afternoon
Yeah.
on the sheet barn. But I send that to you every week, so.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, but I don't know what else to do.
I don't know.
Shanda's been in contact with her people with Coast to Coast too. Oh, yeah, you're on the list, you're on the list. So we keep getting, but winter's coming pretty quick again here too. But both those facilities we want taken care of here as quick as possible. And what I'm talking right now is a steel structure, and see if we can get more of it completed than the original, seeing what we can get for our money. So I have Shanda talking to some different people.
What's the status on those other buildings? Are they gonna come down? I mean, if we can't use them, that's kind of wasted space if they're just gonna sit there.
And that's a
Yeah, no.
discussion that I wasn't really worrying about until we get this other one built. The city of Downey has some desires to have them, but I have concerns over that also. If we condemn them, I don't want them utilizing them.
Right.
I mean, so it's a discussion we'll have to have as a commission and
Okay.
see which direction we actually want to go. But my main goal right now is to get the other buildings built and utilize the funds towards that instead of tearing down the others. I've talked with Road and Bridge, and there's some things we could possibly do in-house that would help with that, so.
Because that's budgeted out of the ARPA funds too, so if we don't have that done by the end of the year, those funds will go away, right?
They're not going away.
Oh,
They're gonna be done.
okay.
They're gonna be contracted or done.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're going to have the money if we decide to do it.
Yeah. Questions? Comments?
What did you say about the POW? The POW has approached you guys about doing their motorcycle rodeo down there? What's the dates of that? Do you
Well,
know?
it's the last week of July, so it's a big conversation because it's the week right before our fair.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was wondering.
Yeah,
Is that
so-
gonna present a
And-
challenge to,
Scott said that he was worried about our staffing, if we'd be able to host them with just Alex and I.
have you guys been out to see their rodeo in American Falls?
No.
It used to be up here.
It used to be
Yeah,
at
I
the
know.
event center, but
I mean, I've been to both of them. Yeah, I don't think it takes a lot of staff to run that thing, personally, but, you know, I mean, you guys are more experts on this than I am.
I just don't know, I mean, that cuts Alex really, really short as far as.
But
and
that would
even
go
4-H
through Scott too.
Right, and that's why I talked to Scott about it, but as far as setup for fair,
Do they always do the same week?
they do the
Yeah.
last weekend in July, as far as I
Okay.
know.
And do you always do the same week for the fair?
It's the first full week of August.
Okay. And these other rodeos and things you were talking about that were conflicts that may have drawn people away from our fair this year, what's the deal with that? Is that something new?
Usually they're the week after us, so it's just
Usually the
the,
week before. Just
well,
the way
Grace is, but I think,
this year.
because usually when they do, the tribe does their powwow, it's the week after because they rent our bleachers for the Bull Riders Mayhem, but they couldn't rent our bleachers because we had the rodeo that night. So she ended up renting from Blackfoot, so it's just the way the weeks fell.
But is there some possibility of maybe having conversations with those guys so that they're not conflicting and we're not losing attendance because of that?
I think it only happens 1 out of 7 years, kind of, one way or the other, but just the way the calendar is.
Okay. That's all I got.
Jeff?
Oh, good.
How do you guys think the potato bar went?
I thought it went real good. I mean, for the short rain that we had,
Right.
there were still a lot of people. Line was long. Yeah, I appreciated the butter the way it was. Honestly, the little scoop thing worked really well. Even better than the other one. But
Things.
Yep.
the other one, my wife was on that line and she'd just give them a couple of butters and a deal of sour cream and set it on the plate. And then they'd dress it up when they got to the table, but the other way.
The scoop butter works good.
I
It was a
think
lot less
That's
expensive,
much
too.
better. Never don't do those little
Yep.
things anymore.
Sprayers.
Do all the
Sprayers.
scoops, whatever that thing is
Get
you're
rid of
doing in
those
the
for
past.
Christmas.
The scoop thing's much better.
His
Yeah,
favorite.
that scoop was good.
Yeah.
And we were a lot happier having water instead of curdled milk.
Yes.
That helped a lot.
And honestly, as people come back and got water, as it was
Yeah.
warm and stuff, it gave us an opportunity to visit with people too.
Yeah,
And we got a lot of thank yous.
Yep.
good.
So thank you for us getting thank yous.
Honey had somebody call her yesterday or the day before and just went on and on about how great the parade was. They said that it almost touched us out coming around. It was that long this year.
Well, it did, because we went another half or 2 or 3 blocks. We still had candy left.
And I asked her if Carla tracked how many floats were in the parade, but she was going to check with Carla.
Okay.
Our car show was way, way up.
Was it?
Yeah, there was a lot. And there was a couple semis that were shown. So yeah, the car show was way up.
Good. And that sounds like we're way up on our 4-H kids and
Animals.
the events there. No motorcycle this year.
No motorcycles yet.
The
That was good.
Lynn's blood pressure come down.
Yeah, it did come down quite a bit.
She was good.
But they were pretty respectful of it, and
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
wasn't no
There wasn't a
I
lot
thought
of-
there'd be some talk back and stuff. It was, yeah, it worked good.
Good, good. Well, we appreciate it. I mean, we have new members on the fair board this year and a lot of things went on, a lot of changes, and you adjusted well. So, thank you all.
Thank you.
Well done.
All right.
Thank you.
Dylan.
Morning, Dylan Evans, landfill manager.
Before you guys today, I have a possible solution to our recycling question that I brought before you a couple of weeks ago. On this, I don't know if you've had time to review, there's an A proposal and a B proposal. The A proposal really is just what happens, right? So if we took a load of cardboard to Pacific today, this just kind of indicates what the cost would be to us. It kind of outlines what goes on. So based on the OBM market for cardboard specifically on this one, it kind of comes up and down. So there could be a potential of making some money, but there also could be a potential of having to pay a fee depending on their $70 shipping and handling cost. So speaking with Pacific, they were comfortable offering just a flat free. So if we agree to do that, they would just take the tin and the cardboard just for free. And that way we don't have to fight the market and you owe us $10, we owe you $10, any of that stuff. So we'd be able to maintain that same cost like we have currently done or have done in the past. The only issue with this is they will not take plastic. So we have the bins available. We could designate tin and cardboard. And then I would think that it would be wise of us to get with Emma and do like an ad campaign, get out on social media and say, you know, in order to continue offering you guys these services, we have these new bins, we have this new procedure, and we don't take plastic any longer. But that would be most of our capture rate as it is cardboard. So I think that we'd be able to keep the citizens of Bannock County happy that way.
And myself looking at this, I like B. Honestly, it's just take it away from us. We don't go in the landfill with it. I mean, I don't know how much we would generate, but I think it's more of a hassle. The paperwork and trying to.
And we could track it for a year and just do the free option, because this isn't obligating us to anything. It's just options that are available through Pacific. But we could watch and see maybe what it looked like through the year. And if it was like, oh man, you know, we could have made $2,000 last year on doing it, maybe then we try it. But just for that amount of money, it seems like an awful lot of legwork.
I wouldn't be tracking something that we're maybe going to save $2,000 in the future if the market goes our direction. I
Right.
like the idea of just letting them take this stuff. It costs us nothing.
Yeah.
Keeps it out
Yeah,
of the
keep
landfill.
exactly.
About
Keeps
that,
it out of
right?
the landfill. Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Are they picking it up and taking it, or?
No, we would still have to self-haul. But Western Recycling and Pacific Recycling are only a few blocks away from each other. So really cost-wise, labor-wise, fuel, everything would be almost no difference.
Any chance you can get them to come get it?
I think that the shipping and handling fee would start to stack up enough to where they wouldn't be interested. We would have to pay them to do the driving and rent the bin.
But right now, the market is such that they would make, right now, it looks like they'd make money off of this thing, right? They're gonna make a profit off of it. They wouldn't do it if they're not making money.
If we took it to them. But with the trucking fee included, I don't think that you would.
Uh-huh.
Anything else?
No.
I'd go ahead and make a motion that we do B. And you can just kind of keep an eye on it and see
Okay.
what it's costing us and the effects, but just keeping that amount of material out of the landfill is a plus for us.
Yeah, I would just be curious to know how much that equates to over a year. Is it, you know, how many feet of landfill space do we save by doing this versus not?
I mean, it's noticeable, 6 to 7 tons a month. I mean, so you're looking at 70 to 80, maybe 90 tons a year. I mean, that's part of a rush throughout our day. But, I mean, over the course of the lifetime of a landfill, it could be significant value, plus still providing the service to the citizens too. So, I mean, it's kind of both sides of it, but.
Okay.
Any
So your
concerns?
motion is to do the free,
B, yeah.
no fee option, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Christie, any concerns? Have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
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 Perfect. And you guys are good if I work with them on getting the social media thing out?
Yep.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. All right, Wes?
Good morning. Bush Jones, Office of Emergency Management,
Karen Trumbull, Office of Emergency Management.
and we're gonna go down through and talk about Emergency Operations Center and regional EOC concepts. And so we're not going to be addressing anything you haven't already heard for the last 3 or 4 years. The only difference is the names have changed and the amounts have changed. So Monday, Commissioner Huff and I met with Southeast Idaho Council of Governments.
All the same.
And where the Southeast Idaho Council of Governments kind of has a shared responsibility, very similar to what we do in emergency management on their outreach programs and interactions and trying to build capacity. It was very evident that a lot of those entities that they interface with are the same ones that we interface with. So if we could possibly kill 2 birds with 1 stone on that community outreach opportunities, I'd really love to do that. And so what SCOG has offered is office space for department personnel as well as utilization as their conference room for the Emergency Operations Center. So with that being said, what that means is the lease agreement would be at $1.25 per square foot, and that's 880 feet. So it's relatively cheap as compared to other rental fees for square footage. So that annual cost would be $13,200. So what we'd like to do on this first phase of this is get us into the building to get things started. Now in the 2 office areas, they're cubicles right now, but we'd like to have them finished off so they're sheetrock and hard-walled in those areas. And SCOG said if the county would pay for that or do that, they'd forego that first year lease. So to get the EOC, Office of Emergency Management for Bannock County in SCOG's building, it's only going to cost us $13,200. I've got approval from the state of Idaho to use state Homeland Security funds to do that, because that's an extension of the Emergency Operations Center function, and the state's on board with that because they also like to see us move outwardly for the regional EOC. So with that regional EOC, it'd be very similar to what we started with, Disaster Response Complex at ISU. And at that time, President Satterley was all in favor of utilizing some of the resources that ISU has for on-the-job training, integration, for support to not only emergency management type functions, but the things that we could do back through SCOG. So on phase 2 is where we'd start reaching out to the contiguous counties to get their buy-in. Because in the past, we've always had buy-in from the counties, and is it District 5 or 6, Commissioner Huff, for elected officials? 5. So District 5 elected officials all love the idea, and they've loved that idea and this concept for several years. Because going back to the Tri-County Tribal Operations Plan that I put together back in 2003, everybody bought into it, but there wasn't any true formalized meat in the game, so to speak. So at that time, Commissioner Guthrie signed off on it and implemented it. Commissioner Estep from Power County and Commissioner Wayne Brower from Bingham County and Tribal Chairman Frederick Ock bought into it, but there wasn't any money tied into that. So with this phase 2, what I'd like to have is a memorandum of understanding with those contiguous counties that want to participate, and that would be taking a share of their state Homeland Security funds to pay for this regional EOC. So the breakdown is based upon the population dispersion models that the state of Idaho utilizes. And so I worked with Matt McCarter, who is the state grant manager, and that's where we got the amounts that's broken down in there. So you'll see an increase on this because we're utilizing not only SCOG for a facility, but we're also wanting to use SCOG as a support entity to help those contiguous counties write grants and improve economic stability within the region. So that increase of funding would be for 5 hours a week from SCOG to work with all of the contiguous counties to provide that support. And that comes to a total cost of $32,700. So that would be the phase 2. Now phase 3 is where we'd get the elected officials to work with our congressional delegation to request an Emergency Operations Center grant in which FEMA provides funds to construct an EOC for a regional application. And so that's pretty much the concept and things that we're working towards. And I apologize for the late notice and getting on board at the last minute, but like I say, Commissioner Huff and I met with SCOG on Monday afternoon.
Questions?
What are you asking for today? I see there's these different phases. So I'm assuming you're not asking us to just, well, maybe you are, do all these, approve all these phases now. Are we on phase 1 now, or what are you looking for?
I would like to go with phase 1 now.
And so then there would be another conversation if we're going to get into this phase 2
Yes.
stuff.
Because we still have to create the memorandum of understanding to bring in the other contiguous counties to identify the scope of involvement for the regional concept. And when we stood up the regional EOC for the flooding potentials, we worked with Bear Lake County, Franklin County, and Caribou County, and that worked very well.
So we'd get all agreements in place before we agreed to, I mean, these other counties would have to agree that, yeah, we're going to pay this amount and so
Yes.
on. So we're not just doing this and hoping they pay
Yes.
for it. Coming back to phase 1, right now you're looking at building out part of the CCOG office space to put your offices over there and to set up all the screens and computers and all that stuff in the conference room, which would be just basically it just sits there until you activate it, and then you take it over and utilize it during some kind of emergency. Is that right?
Yes and no. That's the primary intent, but if we have the EOC that's sitting there, we can utilize that for a lot of our training, and we haven't been doing that. If we do any training now, we have to go to another facility. And the City of Chubbuck and Chief of Police Sasser's been very gracious in allowing us to conduct a lot of our trainings over there. But then we haven't done the magnitude of training that we probably should because of the impact of limiting space, and then we have to schedule and put things in place. So yes and no. But with that dedicated EOC, we could do the hands-on training. We can get those individuals who are assigned those functions to go through their task lists, because in emergency management, everybody has to be certified to perform those functions. No different than post for law enforcement or the fire academy for a fire department and fire chief and staff. But we have to have that dedicated space so we can pull those people in and have them scheduled so that they're certified and competent and capable to understand what they need to do during an event.
So that right now, isn't that set up over at
Planning and zoning.
planning and zoning? What is that thing in planning and zoning then?
That's the EOC.
So it is set up over there.
And that's for our emergency activations such as this last weekend.
I'm sorry?
That's for Emergency Operations Center, so it's set up for emergencies such as on Saturday when we stood up the EOC for the fire.
Right. So
It
that's
is.
what you're talking about, moving over to CCOG?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it's a significantly more space, I think, at CCOG?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you put all that stuff over there. So just that portion of it, moving the equipment stuff over there and being able to schedule the use of it, is there any cost to that? Or this cost, I think, is all for just the build out for transfer in your office, right?
Mhm. No, there'd probably be no cost because we would probably work through the sheriff's office and Tony Manu like we did previously to get all our stuff moved last time.
Right.
And then with Adam McKinney and IT staff for the hookups and connections,
Okay.
that's still the
So,
same.
so we really, it sounds like we probably could just move the stuff there now and set it up, and there's no cost to that at all, right? Now we've got a place where you can go schedule, do your training, and if you have an emergency, you can activate it there and so on.
Right.
And then this other part of moving your offices, that's a separate thing that, if I understand this right, that would cost $13,200 annually, but not the first year if we build it ourselves.
They're the same. The office space and the EOC is combined.
And you use all grant funds for that? So
Absolutely.
there's no cost to the county outside of the grant funds?
Unless you'd like to
Ongoing.
donate some, Jason.
What are the grant funds used for now? Are we getting the grant now?
Yep, we have been since 1988.
And so we're taking away from some other use to do this?
Not necessarily, because what we've been doing for the last 3 years is we've had a professional services contract with SCOG, provide support and assistance through the grant writing, and that's been at $35K per year. So this is at $32,007, so it's $2,300 cheaper to do the same thing that we've been doing for the last 3 years.
It includes the grant writing? So
Yes, sir.
we're gonna take over their office space, put an EOC over there, and they're gonna continue to do our grant writing for $3,000 less than they're doing now?
Yeah, they're pretty excited about it, actually.
And it's all paid for with grant funds?
Yes, but it's not our grant specifically. It's going to be the 6 contiguous counties that they're going to be interfacing and working with. Because
Well,
the
that's
work
phase
we've-
2.
Because the
Right.
work that we've done for the last 3 years from Bannock County and SCOG to provide grant support and do some of the things that we've been doing has formulated and established that template to follow. So there's no, how do we do this? How do we plan for it? How do we coordinate it? So it's just going to be boilerplate for them to move forward to integrate with the contiguous counties, which is one of their primary functions, is to increase capacity and economic development within Southeast Idaho.
Any comments, Jeff?
No, I like the idea. I don't have too many problems with that. Just what problems can you see solving with the regional EOC that, I mean, I know the state wants us to go to a regional model in a lot of different things, and so I'm familiar with a lot of the others, but with the regional EOC, what problems do you see that helps solve?
Well, what it does is it provides that capacity and capability to provide the services for emergency management and the response components that's standardized. A simple example would be if you have a community emergency response team, CERT teams, which is volunteer organizations that stand up, provide support and assistance to a city or to a county in times of need. That's standardized. And if you go with a regional CERT team, you increase the numbers of participants and engagement 6-fold, but you minimize the expenses to create that capability by 6, because you have one training instead of 6 separate trainings. Very similar to a regional response for a fire department. If you have all these fire departments together, but everybody's training individually and creating their own policies and procedures, and when you do have a response, very similar to what we had this weekend, everybody's doing their own thing. Instead of having a standardized response, it goes down through for the notifications, activations, and everything else. So it minimizes the impact of the community and expedites efficiency for the response across the board.
That was going to be my next question. How would this, if we'd had the regional EOC set up, how would this have impacted this last weekend's event?
It would have had a huge impact, because when we sat there and monitored the event, events escalate from a type 5 incident. So that would be Commissioner Huff as law enforcement officer pulling Jason over for a speeding ticket. That's a type 5 incident. When you escalate that to a type 4, you have 6 or more individuals on scene. So if Commissioner Huff brings in the K-9 unit, which is Commissioner Mosier, or ISP, Commissioner Crowder, and you elevate that, you get 6 or more people, that's a type 4 incident. If you're implementing incident command functions and you go into a type 3, so you have MOUs that you're implementing, which is what we did last weekend, that's a type 3. If you turn it over to the federal agencies for a type 2, which you'll see on a lot of the wildland fires, where BLM or the Forest Service come in, that's a type 2 team. They pull in all the resources, similar to what we did this weekend, because we had 22 fire departments respond on that 629 acre fire. So that's a type 2. A type 1 is when the feds come out. COVID was the only type 1 that we've had in which the federal government initiated that. So when we build those up, it's important that the emergency management office is informed of what's going on, because we're the ones that hold the glue together. We're the entity that reaches out to the state, the other resources, and the feds. We track, we document, we identify, and we put things in place. We were never notified until 3.5 hours into the incident. But fortunately, we were monitoring the public safety power shutoff incident, so we are aware of the radio traffic and things went on. We didn't have any communication or coordination with the Shoshone Bannock tribe. The input that we received from Power County was confusing because they didn't have good communication with the scene. And so if we have that regional EOC, you provide that function and that standardized communication so everybody's aware of what's going on. And then when we stood up the MAC, so the updates that I provided to you guys is a function of the Multi-Agency Coordination Center, which is policymakers and decision heads who are aware of the incident prior to requests being made, so it speeds things up. And at the same time, elected officials are aware of what's going on, because normally the community at large doesn't always call the fire department to find out what's going on. They call you guys. So it's important to let the MAC personnel know what's going on.
So if you'd had the EOC set up and functioning properly, would you have been able to mitigate having 22 separate fire departments or departments respond to that scene?
Yes, possibly, because that gives us an opportunity to talk to the incident commander and say, what's the status on this? Where are you at? And then we could pose the question, do you need all these resources? At what stage are you? And there's a lot of things that happened that we need to have a critique and a debrief on based upon the input that I'm receiving from BLM, the Forest Service, and some of the response elements. But it goes back to that standardized application in which we knock down some of those silos in which Department A does this, Department B does this, and Department C does this. And our role as the Office of Emergency Management is to make sure that A, B, and C work together on these elevated type incidents so it's effective and efficient. And it's been tough for us to do that.
Well, I think it's time for a field trip. I'd like to go over here and look at it, because like John says, if we're gonna go spend $13,000 next year, not this year, where's that funds coming from, and what are we taking it away from? But I'm a visual person. I'd like to just go over and, okay, this is what we'd like to do. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'd like to actually look at
I
it.
have another question here. Just make sure I understand this right. Do we currently have a professional services contract that we're paying $35,000 a year?
Yes.
Where's those money come from? Does that come from a county line item, or?
State Homeland Security Grant Fund.
So it's the same grant you're talking about? Okay. Yeah, I think Commissioner Moser should.
One
go
more
look at
question
this
real
building.
quick. When did you want to try to get this done?
As soon as possible. Is tomorrow too soon?
So if we go look at this and everybody thinks, okay, well, this will work, what you're asking for is to move forward to drafting an MOU or a contract to bring back to us to see if we want to go forward.
Yes.
The other probably question we need to talk about today is the remodeling costs or ability to do that.
And that's why I want to have the field trip, because I want Dan to go on the field trip.
Well, if our conversation with Wes was trying to potentially have this done by the end of September, which I said I don't think Dan can do that, but I didn't want to speak for Dan.
Got a full load right now.
And then again,
Yeah.
if we do try to do it by September, where does that money come from if we're not going to have Dan do it? And I don't have an answer to those questions.
Because there's no budget.
I don't think there's any great urgency that we have to do it by September.
Well,
I mean, I'm not seeing it.
that was the conversation we had, so I'm just bringing those
Right.
points that we had forward so that everybody's aware of the conversations.
Right. No, we're on the same page.
I want Dan in the field trip.
Yeah, no,
I
I'm
just,
fine.
I'm not committing him to anything without having a conversation. So, okay, let's see if we can, first next week, arrange a time and a field trip, and we'll send out the invites and make sure Nancy's there.
Okay.
I can go look at it.
How many people are you looking at on that?
On your field trip. You want Dan? Do you want Adam? and
1,
Kenny?
2, 3, 4,
I've
5,
seen-
6,
I've seen it, I don't
7.
need to go. so
I don't
I'm
need to
good.
go either. I went over there the other day, and once I saw this on the agenda and looked at the space, so
10 people. Just say 10.
Okay, we can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Shanda?
Good morning, Commissioners. Shanda Crystal, Chief Procurement Officer. I have a procurement update for the board today. You want to start at the top of the dashboard with Road and Bridge Road Salt. Buddy and I have just been going back and forth in some emails this morning, trying to figure out the best way to move forward. Last year, we had tried to piggyback from the state contract, and we were denied by the contractor. And so we went out to bid. So we are looking again this year, right, who won that state contract, if they're going to allow us to bid. If they'll allow us to piggyback, we'll move forward in that fashion. If not, we'll go ahead and run it ourselves and get it done. But we're heading back into their normal and customary winter stuff. We've already got the blades already done. That's an extended one that we piggybacked off of last year. But we'll head into their winter operations here pretty quick. If we jump down to the YDC Event Center office building, I got an email from our architect yesterday saying that it's 90% drawn, so that is on track to be bid out that first week of September. The bidding documents are all ready to go and submitted through legal, so we are ready to go. As soon as we receive drawings, we'll get that published and move that one forward. We have several contracts out for review. The different requirements that those ARPA funds put on those contractors to gather up, that is causing just a slight delay, but they are working just as diligently as we can. For the annex, we have the ceiling, the lighting, and the HVAC are all out for review and to come back before the board. And then we also have the detention center cement polishing and the security cameras are also contracts that are out for review. At the bottom of the list for Lava Ranches, the fuel reductions contractor, I was updated this morning by Charity that she is preparing a document to officially request from IDL for more time to complete that project. We were pretty sure that that's where we needed to go, but where we were shut down before we could even award to a contractor due to fire season, that has become apparent that we're going to need to have that before that contract is signed and committed for that contractor. So she'll prepare those and follow the proper channels, bring them before the board. IDL has given verbal, like that they're interested in having that discussion, but once they get signature on that, we'll move forward with the signatures on the contract with our current awardee that we have. Are there any questions?
Questions? Thank you very much. All right, Kyle.
Al Burmester, Public Works Director.
Buddy Romrell, Public Works Assistant Director.
Dylan Evans, landfill manager.
Tori Danner, Bannock County Coroner.
J.R. Farnsworth, Chief Deputy Coroner.
Good morning, Commission. What we were kind of bringing before you today was, we'd had discussions in the past of, we had some concerns with our, like weed mosquito. We have a smaller building that has a couple offices and a main foyer, but in the summer months, we have 8 people that work out of there, so it's kind of tight. We have some different locations of where they get the chemical or the water and different things like that. Plus, one of our things is trying to working with our kind of a team approach. We'd like to get them a little bit closer in with us and be able to help them out with, we have a lot of sales that we do through the public for cost share, helping with chemicals and stuff like that, so that gets really busy in the summer, trying to have all the public come in and out, that we're trying to have them out in the field. So trying to figure out a way that we could get them closer, that we could utilize our office staff to help with that. We also, at the same time, we're having Dylan at the landfills doing a scale house project. Some things are moving, changing a little bit there. Trying to figure out what's the best way to utilize some of these buildings. One of the buildings is the weed and mosquito building that's right in the middle of all of that. So maybe seeing if we can move them, maybe that would help utilize that space with landfill. And then the other part to it is we have a facility there that we have permitting, building, roads, all kind of that GIS that all work out together, and we'll do a code enforcement. And where our coroner's at with looking at, is the facility work for him or not? We're seeing that if we're having to tear down stuff, to rebuild stuff and change things, and that's like right in the middle of our operation, that's kind of roads and building versus coroner and stuff. So is what decisions we're making today and right now in the future in the right direction of where we should build, where we should move, and them kind of things. So we're just kind of wanting to get a little bit of a conversation going on which way we should go about these things.
Okay, I have another meeting I have to be to at 11, a gym plan board meeting. So I'll just tell you where I'm at. We don't have a master plan. I think that we need to look at this whole process. There's still conversation about a forensic. There's still conversations about what's going to happen with the coroner. There's conversations that we've had about where the snow grooming building is. And I think that we need to come up with a master plan on what are we going to do. I don't want to start bit piecing, moving things here and there. I think that where mosquito and where weed is right now with the chemicals and stuff, it's out there away from the public. I think that that's a better place for it than piecemealing right now. So I got to leave, but that's where I'm at. I think that this is a good conversation to start having, because we got to talk about that ground out there by the snow grooming. We got to talk about the forensic. We got to talk about what's going to happen now that that's part of the city of Chubbuck, and the building permit problem that we're having because of the pole barns and different things. So I think that this is a bigger, broader discussion, but it's a good starting point. Sorry, but I got to run down to this other meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Dory, your thoughts?
My thoughts? I guess my question is, what's the proposal? I mean, first and foremost, what's the proposal? I mean, I know that based on where I'm at, I've had an idea of just remodeling what we already have, just basically expanding within the footprint we've been given. The way I see it is, with remodeling and utilizing the space that we already have, that sets us up potentially for 20 years. That gets us a work facility. It's minimal cost, opposed to building a whole new facility, or looking at taking on something else that doesn't really fit. Does that make sense? I mean, based on what I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was essentially to kind of swap, and we would go up there. If that in fact is the plan, the office space is less than what we currently have, which would minimize the potential as far as our plan goes to grow. We have a plan that if we get to a point where we need a fourth person, we can facilitate that within where we're at, right? we utilize the bays that are next to us currently. That gets us everything that we need. We're right next to each other. In fact, there's close enough that we could honestly probably have Bluetooth so we can monitor what we're doing from the bays. We can't do that up there. It doesn't fit, based on what I've seen with the offices, the bays, and all of that, it does not fit within the scope of what would allow us to be accredited. So, to me, from my perception, we're in the red zone, if you will, to completing everything that we need to do to get our accreditation, to be self-sufficient, and it's very minimal cost, and utilizing the facilitation of where we're at. To put us up there completely resets everything to where we have to remodel, reallocate, redo everything. And we've already done budget based on where we're at. The budget that we put in and the budget that we asked for and proposed is based on our current settings, and that's what we've been building for 3 years. So to get to the end of the line and say, oh, hey, let's do this, that kind of throws everything out of whack. And we've kind of already had this on hold, and now we finally have an avenue to finish this and become accredited. I think overall it sets the county up to potentially, it's going to save money, it's going to allow us to be self-sufficient. If future legislation hits, then that's potential cost saving of whatever we spend in autopsies a year, right? Because we have our certification, we have our accreditation, we have everything. That is, based on what I've heard from the commission, that is investing in Bannock County in a positive way, right?
All right,
so
that's good. Thanks. Dylan?
I think about the only concern that I have is just we get through the scale house thing like Kyle was talking about. I think it would be a little premature to move just yet until we have the total plan laid out down there at the lower compound, so.
And your original thought, Kyle, was weed and mosquito would move, and then the shop behind would also become available to Tori, or?
Yeah, so what our plan would be is we've already kind of been getting things figured out and moved, and part of this is that paint booth getting removed out of there. In our master plan of we can get, that was my first thing, was say like the landfill is getting them out of there. I know that doesn't help with what Tori's talking about and stuff like that, but to me a master plan wouldn't be building something out of the norm in the middle of our operation. And nothing against with the corner or whatever, that to me is your waste. We're gonna have to spend more money somewhere else, so if he's not spending it, we're gonna spend it. So maybe that's not the best location, or the county's gonna spend money one way or the other if we move. And what's in the master plan, what's the best plan? Is the best thing to have that there, to have us all together, to do something different, whether it's forensic and that works out and we have a temporary spot until we get to that point? That to me is more of the master plan. Right now, if we do building right now, I think that's piecemealing it.
Okay. Jason, any thoughts?
Well, I feel like this is just kind of a brainstorm that has happened and kind of got the cart before the horse a little bit. Nothing's ready to move. Nothing's been budgeted specifically. Nothing's going to happen this year. I agree with Ernie 100% that really there needs to be a group of people that includes, everybody that's here pretty much, and talking about what is the plan for all of it, and what works for one may not work for the other. So what is the plan moving forward there? I think we're just a little cart before the horse.
John?
You're trying to move, you're talking about moving weed and mosquito down there. Is that it, or is there some other group that moves over there?
No, it's just weed and mosquito. We need office and bay room to get them down there.
And you got all kinds of bays down there at South Fifth, don't you? Beyond what the coroner is trying to use. 'Cause
Not
right next
that
door to
we
the
have
coroner-
available. We're full right now. We're losing space. So we used to utilize where the planning and development is.
Yeah.
That was our sign shop. And we had bays there. We gave them up. Then we gave up to build an HR building or I think it was Daniels, and we gave that up, which is where he's located now. So
Right.
we've been tightening things out, so now we're leaving them out in the weather. And so one of our fixes right now is an $80,000 electrical because it's sitting out. And so we're spending lots of money because we're taking all of our stuff out of the bays and parking it on the hill.
So are you telling me you don't have space there currently to move weed and mosquito?
Not without the movement of the corner.
Well, that's all my comments.
All right, well, I agree with Commissioner Moser and Jason on this. I think we need to sit down and have a little bit bigger conversation. Again, planning things out, which was a novel concept, to put together a real plan. So I will take the responsibility and convene a meeting and get everybody back to have kind of a broader discussion that we can come back and maybe create some kind of a plan and then go from there. So we'll see if we can do that in the next couple of weeks, get back and just have kind of a planning meeting where we can sit down and talk about it without the constraints of time and have everybody present. So, okay, I guess that's where we'll stop it for a day because we're not going to reach a decision today.
Yeah.
But at least we'll move it forward. And yeah, my commitment that we'll have another meeting within the next couple of weeks to get everybody together to talk about a master plan and see where we go. Okay?
Perfect.
All right. Next thing on the agenda, I think is Christie.
Just Clouser, Comptroller, just have an ARPA update for the board. A couple dollar amounts, projects that finished, so on and so forth. So we'll start at the top. The microwave, I originally had a completion date of midsummer. Adam told me that that's probably going to be more like October. So that's been pushed back just a little bit. Still waiting for information on most of the annex projects. However, the ceiling, that number is going to come in closer to $32,000. So we've got some monies remaining that can be reallocated elsewhere for that.
60 grand spread?
58. Yeah.
Okay.
We're waiting on cost estimates for the lighting project. That is looking like it's going to come in between 100 and 120,000. No more than 120, but it could potentially be down around 100.
Which project?
The lighting, the one right above it.
Lighting. You're
So we're
moving
gonna need-
faster than I can think. Okay, so it's
So
going to
we're-
be a wash.
Yes. Need some timelines and scope of work on like the YDC building, which Shanda reported a little bit ago on that. 6th Street, that one, Dan asked me to put completion spring of 25, even though they think it's going to be November, December. He just likes to be conservative in that aspect. The road and bridge truck, we did pay for the Sanders. They were in today's claims. However, we do not have a delivery date yet for the actual trucks. The fair barn, again, no delivery date for the sheep barn, and we're still waiting on drawings and timeline and scope of work on the tear down and the exhibit building. Not sure what we'll do with those funds. The cameras did come in at $219,500, so we've got some reallocation money that we can put in there. Down below, the wet cells is going to come in under budget. That's going to come in closer to $172,000, and those should be completed around December. The polished cement, need a timeline on that. That's out for contract. The landscape for the front of the jail, that's actually going to come in at $133,805. The original dollar amount, well, the original dollar amount was significantly less, but we did have an amount that was $3,500 different. We needed to increase that for the performance bond. Waiting on procurement. It's in the procurement process for the repaving. The HVAC is going to come in at 170 versus the 140. We need timelines on that. The tactical remodel, Shanda reported to the elected officials. They're hoping to bid that out mid-October. Central, I'm not sure what's going to happen with that one. The elected official meeting, Shanda reported that we're having some vendor issues on that. So I don't know if we're having vendor issues on that. We'll have to potentially do a new contract before December to meet that guideline or deadline. The showers should be finished this month. I need to double check on the deputy stations because those were supposed to be done. That said July of 25, but I thought that was this month. That might be next year. And then the showers should be finished in January. We do have the items down in the completed section, the bold ones, where the dollar amounts are there, those are newly completed projects. So the enterprise leases, those are paid off. We're still waiting to get the titles. Shanda is currently fighting with Enterprise
Yeah, we
because
heard about
they're
that.
saying they're gonna hold our titles until the end of the lease, which is, on the record, asinine. She's debating with them on that, and she may have to get legal involved, so we can get those titles.
Yeah, that's.
Lesson learned, don't do anything with Enterprise. Election A doors are done, they came in under budget. The DMV counter remodel came in under budget. Ag extension came in under budget. There was a little bit of work that Daniel didn't get done due to not him, but cooperation with the office. The emergency panels for the jail are done under budget. The walk-in freezer came in just slightly over budget. The stucco is done. The water truck is done, it came in under budget. The historical lighting project is done under budget. We did have the windows for the Veterans Building. Precision turned in a third invoice, which put this over budget. Luckily, they had, the brickwork came in under budget, so I utilized those funds. There is additional money out of the Veterans budget that they're having to pick up the difference because the amount was more than what I could be absorbed through the brickwork. We now, at this point, have $335,000 that need to be reallocated to other projects, which I don't know if you would like to wait and do that as projects complete or assign them sooner than later. So just let me know.
What's the, on that 335K, is that in danger of the December
Yes,
timeline? Okay.
very much so.
Everything's in the December timeline, right?
Yes.
Every ARPA thing.
Yes. We've got some of these under contract, but
Okay.
so that's the update.
Thank you.
Let me know if you need me to do something on it, otherwise
Oh, I'm sure we'll be in touch.
I'm just updating.
I'm sure we'll be in touch. The last thing was letter of support. Last week, I had a couple representatives from the United Seniors Project. What the United Seniors...
Is that on here?
Yeah, it was an amendment.
I must have missed it.
The United Seniors approached me last week to see if we could write a letter of support. They're looking for, to build a new senior facility. And right now, the place they're looking at is in the county. And so they're looking for a letter of support that just says, hey, we support, and if you want to look at that, just we support this endeavor. And no financial commitment or anything like that at this point in time. It's just, we support the,
They were looking down Lander Street, so now where are they looking?
it was out by Gibson Jack.
So they want to build a senior center out by Gibson Jack
Well,
instead of at Lander?
It's not a total, it's more of a community center, but it's geared with the New Knowledge Adventures group and some of the other senior activities as kind of the driving force and the hub. But they want to have like a basketball court so they can rent it out to some of the youth teams to participate in and have a like meeting space, things like that. So it's not just purely a senior center, but that is the group that's driving it. Or the United Senior Project is driving it. So that letter is just a letter of support that they can use when they go out and apply for grants, things like that. I felt it was a worthwhile thing to bring to the commission, and so that's the request today.
Yeah, it's okay with me.
Okay, then I would move that we approve signing the letter. We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.